All of you, good afternoon. Yeah, we have started now. Have you all seen the question papers? Yeah? Questions on women issues, questions on cultural diversity, regional diversity, migration. So those, oh, pata nahi paper 1 kya hai? Okay. So paper 2 wale topics paper 1 mein, and understandable. Reason being, these topics are so interdisciplinary, difficult to draw a boundary ki this is geography, this is history, this is economy. It becomes tricky. Okay? And in history also, while we study cultures, we don't study the cultures of our present day diversity. हम cultures पढ़ देते हैं, है ना, Gandhara art, Nagara temple architecture, we're studying about miniature paintings, present cultural, linguistic diversity, tribal diversity missing hai. Questions on twister, tornadoes, some of you geography guys will have a half a page write up on that. Yes, at least you know what twisters are. So you always have a student of history will have one question that supports him. A question of a student of pol science will have a question that supports him. ऐसे तो होता रहता है. I mean, that's fine. But look at the overall questions. Do you realize one thing? The questions demand कि आप सोच के लिखो. Okay, they're asking your opinion. What is your thought on the proposition? फिर समझ में आता है question क्या पूछ रहा है? The question was critically analyze the proposition that cultural diversities are some way related to marginalization. मतलब क्या हुआ इसमें? क्वेश्चन पढ़ा नहीं पढ़ा आप लोगों ने? A very, very interesting question, and I tell you, the game will change with these kind of questions. It's no longer, रट्टा मार के लिख दिया. आपको अब समझना पड़ेगा. Let me show this to you. There it is. There are 4 questions out of 20 questions which are deep thinking questions. Can you all see this screen now? कितना ही आ रहा है? चल ठीक है, मैं पढ़ देता हूँ. It says, critically analyze the proposition. It means an idea. I'm proposing an idea. Proposition that there is a high correlation between India's cultural diversity and socio-economic marginalities. Means, what is socio-economic marginalities? There are communities, there are groups which are backward in education, backward in health parameters, backward in issues related to employment, income. They are marginalized. Socio-economic marginalization. Social marginalization, they lack social development parameters. Economic marginalization, low income, lack of housing, lack of employment opportunities. Basically, the social backwardness or economic backwardness, it is related to cultural diversity. Okay, इसको आप analyze करो. Yes, why? No, why? And it's saying it's a proposition. It's a idea we are proposing. Idea आपको दे रहे हैं कि is it possible India's social economic disparity is because of cultural diversity? But tricky question, right? So I'll think of who are the backward populations? Who are the backward groups? Tribes are backward. Who are the backward groups? Okay, women are backward. Who are the backward groups? The populations living in the hill regions are backward regions. Who are the backward groups? Scheduled castes and scheduled tribes are backward groups. Okay, so tribes are a cultural aspect. Women is a cultural element, patriarchy. Tribal in the hill areas are also backward regions. वो भी एक cultural aspect है. People who speak vernacular language probably have lesser chance of employment. People who speak local dialects of languages, okay, without English, probably they are relatively more backward. Okay, so हमारे यहाँ पे कैसे question बन रहा है? The PVTGs are backward, yes. So is this backwardness because of so much of cultural diversity? Okay, so इसका एक answer होगा इससे, yes, because when we have too much of cultural diversity, it's impossible that all cultures are equally dominant. There will be few dominant cultures. The other cultures will be smaller numbers, probably not politically as empowered. In political competitions, in political assertion, the dominant cultures generally take the benefits, and the other cultures are either deliberately or inadvertently left out. So yes, because of diversity, I have backwardness. That's one. Second, because there is cultural diversity, okay, and some of them are very diverse, we find it leads to conflicts of cultures also. And because of conflicts, you can talk about problems of disparities and backwardness. Okay, makes sense. Second, I'll say, lot of diversity is also because that some cultural groups are isolated. तो अगर आप equal accessibility regions हैं, then all people can interact, right? Okay, so the diversity in time will reduce. But when there are pockets of isolation, Andaman Nicobar Islands, maybe the deep hill areas of Himalayas, maybe some hill areas of central India. So when you have got geographical isolations, that actually increases the cultural diversity, and geographical isolation limits trade relationships. It limits, okay, relationship in terms of mobility. Therefore, okay, some of these pockets of geographical isolation with the cultural diversity are also backward regions. हो गया आपको 2-3 point? So yes, cultural diversity is अच्छा एक और fact है. Because of cultural diversity, it is difficult to have policies which will benefit everybody equally. खासकर with more cultural diversity, we end up having a lot of personal laws which ultimately make implementation of development policies difficult. ठीक है, so 4 points. Yes, diversity की वजह से conflicts हैं. Because of diversity, okay, there is isolation. Because of diversity, the governance problems. Therefore, yes, some amount of marginalization is because of diversity. However, if we look deeper, it is not diversity that causes marginalization. Okay, there are problems like patriarchy that causes marginalization. The problems of racism that creates marginalization. And there are problems related to lack of investments in peripheral areas that causes marginalization. Because long term mein, development as a solution cannot be about removal of cultural diversity. हमने कह दिया कि diversity की वजह से marginalization solution क्या है? हटा दो फिर diversity और क्या? But we say constitutionally, this is not the desirable solution. It's against human rights. It's against cultural, multicultural mythos of Indian society. There are examples where cultural diversities actually promote development. Okay, so the solution should not be about seeing diversity as the reason of marginalization. Rather, it is lack of investments, lack of governance, lack of political will, which is the reason which must be addressed. बना आपका आंसर यहाँ पर? That's a thinking question, no? Marginalization is not always, is one aspect is polarization, correct. Yes, देखो, religion as a factor is not same as religious diversity as a factor. ये दो अलग चीज है. Okay, और culture as a factor is not same as cultural diversity as a factor. The question ये पूछ रहा है कि somewhere I think the question is motivated by trying to analyze the importance or not importance of uniform civil code. Okay, because one of the narratives of uniform civil code or civil code is that itna diversity hai, if I make it uniform, the problem is solved. Right? Ye question udhar se aa raha hai. That's the thinking question. It's not what you can mechanically answer as a part of some discussions. I'm very happy, ऐसे दो तीन questions हैं. Look at this question. Globalization has increased urban migration by skilled, young, unmarried women from various classes. Okay. How has this trend impacted upon their personal freedom and their relationship with family? Globalization has increased migration of all type of people, and how is it impacting the freedom and relationship with family? Okay. Again, a thinking question. कि आप किधर जाने वाले हो? This question. So our counterintuitive thinking is the globalization is good. The globalization promotes prosperity. Globalization helps us, better prospects of collaborations. ये उल्टा कह रहा है कि बताओ इसका impact क्या है on personal freedom. So see globalization as somewhere homogenization force. See urban society as a nuclear society. See urban cultures as a culture that has a very weak social bondings. See urban cultures more in terms of material wealth, and not so much around cultural roots. Globalization has probably increased a certain type of cultures more, and then tell us how it impacts women, how it impacts maybe farmers, and so on. Very nice. तो ऐसे questions को ना आप anticipate नहीं कर सकते. Your roots of the concepts must be strong, and then you develop on this. कैसे होगा? And that's a mother of all question. कैसे होगा? कैसे होगा? All of you be with me on the reading sessions on Saturday. ठीक है? वैसे ही होगा. आज हम उठाएंगे a very important topic on English language. Yeah, it was decent. Out of 20 questions, we mapped 7 questions part of the test series directly, and 3-4 questions so वैसे भी बन जाता आपका. So about 10-12 questions आपके पास पूरा ready-made answers हैं, and the remaining you think through. That's a pretty good ratio, I believe. Yes, Anamika, correct. Yes, Kehon, yes. ठीक है, so this morning, some of you are in the class, I was discussing this. कि this preparation में ना जल्दबाजी नहीं करते हैं. Okay, you have to be patient, learn the process. I don't know how many of you have read this article. This article was on 19 September, Hindu में आया था. Have you read this article? No, none of you? Okay, you have read. Did you make notes? But notes नहीं बनाते, क्यों पढ़ते हो फिर? Yes, some of them were, Nidhi, yes. Yes. चलो, anyways, नहीं किया तो कोई नहीं किया. पहले ये बताओ, in general, before I start the article, the article tells you something about what it wants to tell us. But you tell me what are your thoughts on English language versus vernacular language. जो debate चल रहा है, English versus vernacular Tamil, vernacular Marathi, or Kannada language. What's your general idea? Should we encourage vernacular languages or not? Okay, yes. Should we have one uniform Indian language or not? Okay, that's a question mark. Some will say yes, some will say no. Some will talk about one language as a, I'm not saying Hindi. Should we have one language as a national language or not? Okay, the debates होंगे इसमें. And question पूछ रहा है कि diversity is a reason for marginalization. So remove diversity. Let's have only one language. Okay. तो ये एक aspect. और एक aspect है. Tell us what you think about English itself. So do you see English as a symbol of colonization? Do you see English as symbol of slavery? Do you see English as the reason why our vernacular languages have not been developed? ठीक है, ये कुछ ideas हैं. Then we'll see how the article argues on some of the dimensions of English as a language. ठीक है, ये online students please download the article. Okay, links मिल चुका है आप लोगों को. I hope all of you have the articles. Yeah, so let's get on. I hope the page is visible to all of you. Yeah, it's a bit light here. I do not know how to change this. This is better probably. It's more flexible, it's more accommodative. Yes, Achrit, you are right. And I'm happy that ये पहला article आया है that speaks in support of English language. And it openly says this whole debate of vernacular language is actually a political thing, not so much guided by pragmatic results of development. You might disagree, but let's see what the idea is. Okay, take it, let's see. So I'm reading out and you can keep underlining with me. Since the economic liberalization of 1991, the demand for English has surged. Yeah. Since the economic liberalization of 1991, the demand for English has surged, aligning with the global narrative that world is flat. I don't know if you know this word or not. World is Flat was a book written by, I think, Thomas Friedman. And he talked about that because of globalization, all the differences were removed. The walls were removed, the barriers were removed. So world has become completely flat. And in this flat world, we have got lot of interactions, we have got lot of engagements. In the flat world, we will not have isolation. And one way of flattening the world is increasingly accepting English language. Okay, so the flatness is a metaphor कि differences हट गया. Flatness is a metaphor for barriers have been removed. ठीक है? So, and this is right because, you know, if I look at why did India gain from the globalization? Why did India become the, thank you, Krishna. Why did India become the IT superpower of the world? One big reason was India had English speaking population. I remember reading this book, बहुत अच्छा किताब है, पढ़ लेना इसको, World is Flat. Okay, published way back in 1990s में हुआ था published. He says a very interesting thing. He says, if you look at the technologies developed during the IT revolution, computers हो गया, software है, internet है, you talk about technologies, okay, like, you know, back then fax machines थे. These technologies were not developed by the less developing countries. US, they might have used some of the skills of the developing countries as a labor force and employment, but the technologies were built by the US, built by European companies, built by Japanese companies, built by Israel to some extent, and Britain. Okay, the technologies were made by these people. But what happened was, developing countries like India and China said that we are ready to play the technology. It's like, मेरे पास skills है नहीं. I can speak English and probably I am a graduate. That's all. कोई और बना रहा है technologies. और जब बन गया, I said, oh, I'm ready to play and plug and play. It's like I don't make the cars, I'm a car driver. मैं बैठ रहा हूँ, आप कार बना लो पहले. Car is made, I'll drive the car for you. And that's how the developing countries benefited from the IT revolution and globalization. They could directly plug and play. Okay. So, उसका reason था because Indians were English-speaking populations. Okay, we could easily connect with the technologies and start collaboration with the Western world. That's one reason why we were able to become. Otherwise, in terms of technology, please understand, China is not at all a backward laggard nation nahi hai. China has very advanced technologies. और जो भी doubt था, that article, that speech that Tim Cook gave, why does Apple go to China for production? This is not because China is a cheap labor market. That is over. You can look up Netway, Tim Cook's view on China and its labor force. He says because Chinese level of technology is very, very high. उनके skill sets बहुत high हैं to develop cutting edge technologies. So India का advantage था English language. Okay, so the benefits that we were able to gain from globalization was partly because of the English language that we had. Okay, so since the economic liberalization, the demand for English surged. Okay, aligning with the global narrative that the world is flat. Okay, the aspiration to have children speak in English is a dream that many Indian parents have. Recognizing its critical role in ensuring better socio-economic opportunities. So, क्या करता है English? क्या करता है? It ensures better socio-economic opportunities. Despite this widespread desire, national education policies have consistently neglected English language instructions over 7 decades. Her policy में the focus is develop vernacular, okay, or develop local languages. Let us talk about 3-language formula. Okay, maybe in some places they say no more English, only teaching in the local languages. So all of us are guilty about the fact that we have consistently wanted to downplay English language for instruction. Okay. Since India's independence, education policies such as NEP 2020, influenced by political ideologies, have aimed to restrict the spread of English language and diminish significance across various sectors. Yet, the neutral nature of language of English, okay, recognized by Constitution, in fact, मैं ये भूल गया लाने के लिए, maybe I'll do this in the next class. There is one commentary on Constitution of India by Rajiv, R-A-J-E-E-V-E. He has been an MP and he has written a book called as India That is Bharat. इस टाइटल के 2 किताब हैं. One is by Deepak Sai, India That is Bharat, और एक है by Rajiv, same name of the book. And both of them write from 2 exact opposite perspectives. Deepak Sai writes from perspective of, okay, more of nationalism, more of, in some way you can say the BJP agenda of India as a nation. And Rajiv writes exactly the opposite. He's critical of nationalism the way it is and against BJP's agenda. So very interesting, if you read, you'll see that what they argue. So in this book, Rajiv's book, he writes this. There was a reason why the Constitution was done in English. The original one was done in English language, calligraphy, okay, properly. Okay, it says it was because of this neutral nature of English, recognized by the Constitution of India as a tool of equality, safeguards its positions, allowing it to maintain a vital role in the nation. This ongoing conflict between restrictive policies and the constitutional safeguards has significantly hindered the ability of economically deprived masses to achieve proficiency in English, perpetuating a cycle of educational socio-economic disadvantage. देखो, lot of examples are given that Germans speak in German and they're proud of German and they study in German. The Chinese study in Chinese, Mandarin, they're proud of language and they are doing well. Japanese, the French, okay, we give examples of Hebrew and Israel. But we forget something here is that German culture and German language, German education, German mein, it's not a work of 1 or 2 years. German work, German science, German language. It's work of 200-300 साल का write up and development scientifically. So वैसे a Hebrew language, it's not a work of 1 or 2 days. And they worked over decades together. And then probably and even then, okay, Israel also encourages a lot of English language. Japanese, okay, their innovations happen in Japan and they wrote in Japanese. Unke physics, chemistry, sab Japanese mein. The problem with us is that we are talking about Hindi language or vernacular language, jabki hamara scientific and education base has been in English. Okay, we don't have a reliable, okay, Hindi mein a good book in physics. We don't have reliable Hindi mein a good book in biology. Okay, we don't have journals and research papers in Hindi language. So if you want to do Hindi, fine, but you understand kitna time lagne wala hai. And you are talking about time when the technologies and languages have, okay, really gone through the roof. Shayad to convert all the documents and knowledge into Hindi was easier if I had done it 100 years ago. Look at the amount of content we have now. It's like, the India must pause literally, but Sara convert karo into Hindi language. You must have teachers and scholars in Hindi language who can teach, okay, geography and physics and chemistry Hindi mein, and then you take off. I mean, can we afford that type of a time? Okay, that's an issue. So while we need to be proud of the culture we come from, there's something called as pragmatism, no? There's something called as, कि आज के times में, this is a useless debate. आज के time में, can we give food to every home, on every plate? आज के time में, can we protect children, women, men from crimes? आज के time में challenge is, what can we do for superconductors and develop a manufacturing sector? ना कि नहीं, हम तो सब हिंदी में ही बात करने वाले हैं. That's our problem today. It's like it says that because of this, lot of people are deprived of good education. I'm sure all of you realize the problem if you come from a local vernacular language background. Okay, I struggle. How do I teach geography in Hindi? I have got a very limited base there. But if I stop and say, "नहीं, मैं तो पहले हिंदी सीखूंगा," all the terms, every technical word, solstice and tectonics and mantle, okay, and equator, okay, and cyclone, convert karo Hindi mein and then teach you guys. It doesn't make sense, right? Somewhere it says it's because of this political thing that we are the ability of economically deprived masses to achieve proficiency in English, perpetuating a cycle of educational socio-economic disadvantage. This neglect has disproportionately affected marginalized children in government-run schools, deepening education inequalities. In contrast, children from affluent families have had resources to achieve proficiency in English, thus widening the chasm between those who can and cannot speak the language. This is the reality here. One aspect of disparity, one aspect of inequality has been what is your education background's language. There is a difference. Okay, whether you like it or not, okay, the urban children coming from English background, they have some advantage over those coming from rural areas and with vernacular. And many of us struggle कि हमने school पूरा करा vernacular में, Tamil में, Bengali में. Now you must change the language to study graduation. Okay, I've done class 10th in some language, 11th, 12th, I must shift towards English. It's very, very tough. And that's one reason why many of us stay behind and we give up ultimately. It's not easy to change language. Last year, there were medical books were published in Madhya Pradesh. Let's see what happens, Kehon. Okay, medical books in Hindi language, and medical is a very, very dynamic subject. आपको हर साल change करना, and then you must have teachers who can teach medical science in the Hindi language. वो भी तो important है ना. छाप दिया, वो library बन गया आपका, ठीक है. ठीक है. Anyways, alarmingly, 2011 India census reveals that 90% of population does not speak any English, highlighting a stark linguistic divide that underscores the failure of education policies to bridge the gap. Surprisingly, the policy does not mention this issue, nor does it provide any measures to address it. Okay, so this much of population does not speak English, but all employment is in English, high education is in English, resources are in English, all our digital platforms are in English. Okay, how do you deal with this problem? Okay, the NAP 2020 continues to devalue English, labeling it as a foreign and ignoring its role as a connector in a globalized economy. Be ready, ये सब चीज आपको पूछ लेगा indirectly in your GS papers. English language as a connector language, English language as a neutral language. Evaluate its veracity or its authenticity. It also lacks a defined strategy to improve access to English for economically disadvantaged groups. So एक तो अलग बात है कि भाई ठीक है, I want to promote vernacular, but then at the given set of conditions in education, what can we do ताकि उसको English नहीं पता है, वो English सीख तो ले कम से कम कुछ ना something or other. So it must look into how to improve access to English for the economically disadvantaged groups, thereby worsening the challenge of closing this critical educational gap. Okay. Then it says, what is the agenda behind the cover of diversity? Very interesting. Okay, diversity, I mean, it's like, jahan par it favors my political agenda, I say we don't want diversity. Let's have uniformity everywhere. Jahan suit nahi karta hai, bolte nahi, we must have diversity. Okay, because it's probably encourages some political ambitions of mine. Okay, there's an agenda behind the cover. We talk about diversity, quick agenda, political agenda. Kya dekhte, let's see. NEP's 2020 three-language formula ostensibly promotes linguistic diversity but conceals a deeper agenda aimed at reviving the concept of Hindi India, particularly by diminishing the role of English in India. I mean, very strong assertion. I won't comment on this. It says that the whole idea of encouraging diversity, kahin na kahin, it's more about promoting Hindi language. Okay, it says, this approach not only is in conflict with the aspirations of millions who view English as a ladder to socio-economic mobility, but also stands at odds with the Constitution, with safeguards against the imposition of any single language on the nation. The Constitution enshrines English and Hindi as official languages, deliberately refraining from appointing a national language, but it also protects regional languages, thereby preserving a critical balance. India mein koi constitutionally there is no national language. Halanki last couple of months you have seen a lot of debates about Hindi as a national language. Okay, but Constitution has maintained that balance. Let's not have national language. Let's have an official language. At the same time, let's talk about preserving our cultural exclusivity in terms of local languages. This framework recognizes English as an instrumental language. Char word mil gaya aapko yahin par. It's an instrumental language. It's a language of empowerment. It is a connector language. It is a neutral language. Nice words. It is an instrumental language, pivotal to education, health, law, trade, and so on, while it positions regional language as carriers of rich cultural heritage. Beautiful. See the regional languages more as a carrier of cultural heritage, but the instrument of growth has been English, okay, in terms of education achievements, trade, health, and global communications. However, 2020 risks unsettling this balance by potentially overlooking the constitutional safeguards. So what is the constitutional view of English and the vernacular languages? This move is misguided and will ultimately fail, squandering valuable time and resources. ये तो fact है यार. Some of the debates इतने useless debates हैं, like ultimately वो collapse होने वाला है. इतना time जाएगा उसमें, इतना resource चला जाएगा उसमें, इतना political capital will be lost in that. Okay, bad blood will come up. झगड़े हो जाएंगे. You wonder looking back कि ये वाकई में worth भी था कि नहीं था. Like I said, it will squander valuable time and resources. This will force the nation to revisit contentious linguistic debates of its past instead of promoting English to a stature that complements the cultural significance of regional languages. Recognizing this constitutional discord can guide India away from the historical pitfall towards a more inclusive and a pragmatic language policy. This is what we need. We have to move towards a more inclusive policy, a move towards a more pragmatic language policy. Since the economic liberalization of 1991, the demand of English has surged, aligning with the global narrative that the world is flat. This means that proficiency in English is not just desirable, but also essential for participating in India's economic growth and seizing international opportunities. Ironically, successive governments have ignored this shift, choosing instead to cling to regional and nationalistic language policies. The NEP 2020 not only continues to marginalize English, but also gives disproportionate thrust to regional languages, inadvertently fueling regional identity politics. ये भी fact है. The entire regionalism in India partly is because of the language thing, okay, where language has become the medium to assert one's identity in the regional levels. So rather than working towards development and technology, फंसे हुए हैं in identity politics, fine. This approach fails to recognize that there is no inherent conflict between nurturing regional languages and promoting English. ये सब important sentences हैं. मैंने यही लिख कर ना, I can add the word critically analyze. Okay, that there is the approach where NEP says focus more on local languages. The approach है, it fails to recognize that there is no inherent conflict between nurturing regional languages and promoting English. I'll give an example to all of you guys. You know, in education sector, खासकर this online YouTube वाला है, a new trend has started, okay, teaching in English. ठीक है? If you ask me, we are trying to dumb down the content. Okay? Dumbing down का मतलब क्या है? एक होता है ना, take a concept and simplify it and explain it. और एक है, take a concept and make it very stupid concept. Make it एकदम dumb types, okay, where समझ में तो आ जाएगा, but you cannot think on it beyond a point. ना आप लिख पा रहे होगे, ना आप relate कर पा रहे होगे, ना आप apply कर पा रहे हो. You're right, application is missing. That's one reason why the quality of education has kind of declined. Language, understand this one thing here. Language is a faculty of a higher order brain. Language is a very powerful level of, okay, a human's evolution as a species. It's not simply words for communication नहीं होता है. Language aids intellectual thinking. Language aids the philosophical discourses. अगर language नहीं है तो आप सोच भी नहीं पाओगे. Understand this. अगर language नहीं है तो आप innovate भी नहीं कर पाओगे. This is the difference between man as a species and other animals. If you've got limited range of vocabulary, आपका सोचना रुक जाता है. You can't think beyond a point. The more vocabulary you have, okay, the more range of expressions you have in languages, the wider, more vibrant is your ability to think and analyze. Simple thing like say, tell me, is this thing good or bad? Good or bad, एकदम dumb down कर दिया. Is it good? Is it relevant? Is it useful? Okay. Is it inspiring? Do you think this is innovative? Or do you think this is a solution? So good को मैंने 5 तरीके से बताया आपको. आपने सिर्फ good bad कर दिया ना, you've lost the nuances. One aspect of thinking is thinking in terms of finer nuances. या good है तो बताओ क्यों good है? Good because it is beautiful to look at. Good because it is agronomically designed for convenient use. Good because it is a work of art. Good because it has some practical utility. तो अगर ये words नहीं है आपके पास में तो आप good समझा भी नहीं पा रहे. If your discourse is between good and bad, the nuances of details are missing, right? Which means I should have the 5 words in my vocabulary first. Okay. It is good because of, it is beautiful. That's one vocabulary. It's good because it is useful. Another vocabulary. It's good because it is relevant. Ek aur vocabulary. It is ergonomically designed for comfort of use. That's why it's good. It's good because it's inspiring. तो अगर ये रेंज 5 वर्ड का नहीं है तो आपके लिए good is good is good. That's it. I hope you got the point here. So vocabulary is a way of engaging your higher faculties. Okay, vocabulary is a way of engaging deeper thoughts. Okay, कि मैं इस चीज को ना 10 तरीके से देखूंगा. The poor is not same as a backward, not same as marginalized, not same as a destitute, not same as a persecuted. All of them ultimately mean there's poverty there. But look at the range that you need to explain कि poverty के भी 10 dimensions हैं. So when you're dumbing down content in the name of democratizing education, you are in trouble. So rather than increase the ability of students to understand higher concepts, मैंने concept को उतार दिया नीचे. This is what's happening in our English-based language. And you find, there's a plethora of YouTube channels. Okay, English में God knows क्या पढ़ा रहे हैं. लिखा जाने वाला कुछ नहीं है आपसे. You attend an English language class, आपसे एक आंसर नहीं लिखा जाएगा आपसे. Why? Because you will be lost in vocabulary usage proper. Online guys, am I making sense all of you here? It's not simply that we must have diversity. Some language has some pragmatic advantage. Now, that's what it says. Okay. The real issues, or say, this approach fails to recognize that there is no inherent conflict between nurturing regional languages and promoting English. बहुत important है. कह रहा है रीजनल लैंग्वेजेस को नर्चर करो बट इंग्लिश को प्रमोट करो. बहुत पावरफुल आइडिया है ये वाला. नर्चर मीन्स लेट इट ग्रो, उसको संभालो. इट्स अ कल्चर, इट्स अ हेरिटेज, it is the legacy that you have inherited. So nurture it, don't ignore it. Promotion must be on your English language. It's like I want to nurture a plant in my house, but I want to promote agriculture outside. I hope you got the point here. I want to nurture that pet dog in my house, but promote karo India's biodiversity. दो अलग concepts हैं. So if you want growth, you want that next level of achievements, English language is the way. But yes, let us not ignore local languages. So ये जो promotion, the idea that English must be put down and local languages must take over, ये जो conflict है, that's unfortunate. Yes, absolutely. That's why it says the Constitution manages that kind of balance very, very pragmatically. Yeah. The real issue arises from the attempts to position Hindi as, अच्छा ये जो vernacular का कहानी चल रहा है ना, somewhere the agenda behind is कि हिंदी को promote करो as national language. And what arguments are given? Look at Hindi speakers in India. Like almost 60% Indians are speakers of Hindi or dialects. In the name of democracy, the Hindi makes more sense now. Okay, it says, with times the spread of English language among the masses. The anti-English stance is not new. Post-independence, there was significant push to establish Hindi as lingua franca of India, which led to systematic efforts to diminish the role of English, despite its status as a co-official language. This was underpinned by the belief that Hindi, unlike English, could not be a neutral bridge. ये important है. In a country which has so much of diversity, we need certain neutral bridges. We need some connections which are not biased towards any one culture, not biased towards any one community. Okay, so English language का advantage, that is, serves as a neutral bridge across India's diverse cultural landscape. Guys, all geography background guys, is a very important writer for English language and India's cultural diversity. ये आपके notes में चला जाना चाहिए actually. Okay, a thread from the past. This bias can be traced back to the freedom struggle, led predominantly by Hindi-speaking leaders who envisioned a monolingual Hindi-speaking India post-independence. The partition with Pakistan, which removed Urdu from equation, only intensified the focus on Hindi. Despite this, the multilingual reality of India and the constitutional provisions for equality and diversity necessitated the retention of English as the official language alongside Hindi. So after partition, some things changed. So now, unfortunately, languages have got identified with the religion. Ye problem ho gaya. What is Hindi is more Hindu for India. What is Urdu is more Islamic for India. So a language should have been a language, but we saw that as a part of religious polarization. So you removed Urdu, okay, and one of the damage was done. Okay, fine. It says the National Policy on Education 1968 introduced the three-language formula. Three language mein kya hai? English, the local language, and Hindi. Okay. Supposedly to spread Hindi across non-Hindi states, regions, thereby integrating. Ye bada khatarnak word hai. Whenever we talk about Hindi, uniform civil code, we talk about common cultural values. Ye हमेशा use कर देते हैं. It's very important for integrating the country. These are those arguments in support of something. However, this formula faced opposition, particularly from Tamil Nadu, which saw it as an imposition of Hindi while diminishing the role of English. The NAP 2020, despite claiming flexibility in language choice, subtly continues agenda in the guise of offering choice, does not address the core issue of language imposition. The practical implementation of this policy shows its flaws. While it allows the selection of languages, the infrastructure resources are heavily biased towards Hindi. NEP में क्या किया हम लोगों ने कहा कि ठीक है, language आपका choice बनेगा. जब choice बता दिया, we forget that Hindi has a better support system around it. Okay, that's why it says that it looks like a subtle agenda. This not only limits real choices but also undermines the policy's goals for fostering multilingualism. The emphasis on Hindi and Sanskrit due to cultural and political motivations neglects English, which remains crucial in the professional, education and legal context in India. Okay, so now be pragmatic. Okay, pragmatic is in comparison with China, such as China have recognized the importance of English, mandating its study to align with global economic shifts and aspirations of its English class. This in stark contrast with India's approach, where lack of focused English language policies may hinder our global economic engagement and social mobility. Ye fact hai. China is increasingly moving towards English language promotion. They realize that one reason why China remained isolated was its focus on Chinese and Mandarin. Despite technology, despite economic growth, despite its strong military power, the integration that it could have done and dominated was compromised because of its Chinese language focus. So while China is moving towards English, India is going reverse way. To rectify this, India needs a pragmatic language policy that respects the cultural diversity while addressing the practical needs of its citizens. A two-language formula comprising a regional language and English would serve the aspiration of Indians to be global citizens while preserving their unique cultural identities. This policy would enable broader participation in global economic opportunities and ensure that all Indians can engage effectively in the professional, education and legal spheres of life. ये पैराग्राफ बन गया आपका what should the solution be. ऐसे पैराग्राफ में बेटा रट लेते हैं हम लोग, ज़रा सोचना थोड़ी है. In this article there is an argument of why English is important. There's an argument of why we must nurture local languages but promote English language. What are the pitfalls of ignoring English and what can solution be? ये तो आपका बना आंसर है. You don't have to go beyond this. Can they call Malayalam a Hindu or Islamic language? Is spoken language? Yes, you're right. That's a good debate. Malayalam, even Tamil for that, Telugu for that matter. In these three states, आप किसी भी religion के हैं, whether you are Hindu or you are Muslims or elsewhere, all of them speak Telugu. Malayalam, You're Hindu or you're Christian or you're Muslim, you all speak Malayalam. Correct, you're right. So, ऐसे states में, can we link a language to religion or not? Okay. So, the government, what was that, Ashwini? Okay, ठीक है. Okay. So, the government must prioritize the promotion and development of English not as a competitor to English languages, but as a vital tool for national and international communication. Let us not see English as a competitor. Okay. This approach aligns with the democratic principles of equality and individual rights, ensuring that every citizen can participate fully in the nation's socio-economic activities without linguistic barriers. India as a liberal democracy, very nice, must be responsive to the needs of and the wants of its citizens. It's high time its language policy reflects this, promoting a balanced multilingual framework that genuinely supports the aspirations of all Indians. English is India's solution. So I hope you got the issue, all of you here. So back in your room, isko ek baar aur pad lena and summarize, and please use the vocabulary, okay, from the article. Voice has some problem. I didn't realize it. Maybe it was having some problem. Fine. Be careful here. Okay? So that's one discussion. Okay, then there are two more articles. I have given, the article is on caste issues. One article is against caste census. The other article is in favor of caste census. One says knowing castes, okay, is a good thing, is a part of knowing your status. One more says knowing caste is responsible for all the conflicts. Okay. I'll suggest कि आप ये दो article खुद पढ़ें दोनों. The pros and cons. I won't limit this Saturday discussion because I realize that, okay, reading too many of them doesn't help you too much. आप अपने आप पढ़ लो, and I'll see if I can discuss this in maybe one of the reading sessions next week. ठीक है? चलो, that's about it. Yes, absolutely. Make notes, Ashwin. Make notes. Thank you all. Okay, have a nice weekend. Keep studying. Tomorrow, I think 1 or 2 o'clock, you again have live discussions on GS paper 3 and 4. So if you want, you can attend or attend on the YouTube. आज भी YouTube में at 6 o'clock you will have discussion of paper 2. 6:30. 6:30. Okay. So please sit there. These discussions will help you understand the examination better. Yes, correct, Sachrit. Correct. ठीक है, चलो then. Bye bye all of you. Bye. Yeah, NCERT I will do. मैंने कहा मैं करूँगा, but I need to have some time and space for that. Bye. All of you, I will circulate a sheet where जिसको वो material चाहिए on essays. Okay, I will mail it to you. ठीक है, so I'll do that maybe in 1 or 2 days on the Telegram channels. You let me know, I'll mail up those material for you.